Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and welcome to this edition of our tip section. And I would like to draw your attention to major news which arose this morning. The whole of England, and because we are all connected with social media, so the entire world has seen it. But before we start discussion on this news item, let me invite my friend from London, Mr. Naval Gun.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, it's international news. It was a highlight on BBC Breakfast News, and I'm sure it'll be on the World Service later on today. And what is it? I sent you the link. What is it? What is the news, do you think?
Well, I don't want to spill the beans, but since you asked me this question, I can tell you that there is a photograph of a person standing in a busy area, sort of a railway station or a bus station, and he's got something written on a placard which is hanging from his neck. So, but I leave it to you to explain it.
Well, it's really simple. What we hear today is there are no jobs. And even if there are jobs, what's the point of applying? Because there are so many people applying for jobs. And I go online and I put my CV through and I'd never get a response. When they do a recruitment fair, I turn up and I never get a response. We hear this all the time, and everyone says, oh, it's COVID, why bother? The point is, if you want a job, you need to go and get a job. It will not come and land in your lap. You need to network with people. You need to do something that other people perhaps aren't doing. So the common thing that people do today is they go online and they're trawling through all of the job sites and they're just applying, adding their CV that they've spent perhaps a couple of hours working on, and they just send it. Is there any reason? Is there any wonder why you're not getting a response? Because you're just a Me Too. You and I talk about Me Too businesses all the time. You need to be different. You need to be doing something different to get someone to think, actually, this is a person I want to interview. Not give a job to, this is the person I want to interview. And this person you mentioned that's got this placard, he was dressed up in his normal livery that he wears. He was on a cruise ship for many years. Very senior position. And because of COVID, all cruise ships have literally, the cruise ship arena has condensed somewhat, contracted, perhaps even non-existent. His job was no longer available. Very senior guy, 63 years old, okay? Not 36, 63 years old. So he dressed himself up in his suit and tie, and he stood on Leeds City Station with a placard. Doesn't matter what it said on the placard, because he was handing out his CV. He was doing they call this a stunt. Why is it a stunt? Because not many people are doing it. But he wanted a job. He wanted someone to take notice. And the really good news is, not only did he land a job, not only did he get onto the local newspaper, because it's a stunt, it's something different, but he landed a dream job. He's now head of training for a chain of restaurants. So he's imparting his 63 years of knowledge, a lot of it gained in the cruise ship arena, so he knows about customer service, and he's working in a chain of restaurants. Well, what better? And this person hasn't got a plum in his mouth. He doesn't speak the Queen's English, if you like, and jolly good. He was a royal butler. That's his history. So he was really properly trained. Now he's imparting that to a whole new arena of not just the restaurant chain, but young and old people. This is how we do it. Copy me. Copy me, you'll get it right. It's a fantastic story, okay? But it all started with someone doing something different. And how many times do you and I talk about do something different?
Well, the inspiration that I'm getting from this story, Naval, is that you have to shorten the curve. When you're trying for a job, you are, as you said, Me Too, and you are lost in the ocean of thousands of applications. Many years back when we used to advertise, like 20 years back, and there used to be fax machines, and we said that, hey, we need this kind of person to be employed with our company. The fax machine used to fail, after 50,000 CVs. And there is a human limit to how many CVs you can see, because the fax keeps coming and get piling up in a trash box. So you pick up the first maybe 200 CVs, and rest 48,200 will go to trash. So that was a thumb rule. So only the first 100 or 500 CVs will be reviewed by the company, and rest of them will go in the trash box. So I think that is a thumb rule. You are actually doing it faster, better. So this person who's a well-trained, well-traveled, uh, Victorian English speaking, from nice pedigree, he's 63 years old, and he has shortened the curve. He has taken his message directly to the HR director of the company who has hired him.
Absolutely, he's shortened the curve. And the thing is, right, there is this phrase, right, the early bird catches the worm. I'm not quite sure whether it translates in India, but in other words, if you get up early and you do things early, then the worms are there. Your food is available. Breakfast is there. Go and get it. And the point is, go and get it. So the advice we can give to people today, okay, your fax machine, the first 500, and that's it, blocked off. So the early bird caught the worm. The one that literally took action early may not have been the best candidate, but it was the one with the right attitude. And I bet the first 10 you looked at more closely than the 490 that followed, because they were the first. That's the type of person you want to employ. And hopefully they've got the right technical ability that you can mold to be that great employee. So what advice can we give to people today? So based upon that inspirational story, what would you say, CK, to someone else that's looking for a job today?
Well, I think you need to differentiate yourself from the rest, and there are different techniques of differentiating. Maybe you should present yourself. Maybe you should go meet the person face to face. Maybe you should write a letter. There are many things. There are various ways of thinking out of the box and shortening the curve.
Yeah, there are various ways. And I think what we need to do is give people one way that we know works, one way that I know works. And it's a way that I suggested for over 15 years since speaking in universities and schools and in the education system around the world. Get your CV. Put a covering letter to it. Don't type the covering letter. Handwrite it. Make it very personal. Find out the person in the organization that you need to be sending that letter to. Don't apply online. Frankly, everyone's applying online. Keep doing it, because you never know. If you're not in it, you won't win it. But do something different. Send a personal letter to the head of HR, the head of the department, someone who's influential in the organization. Tell them why you've seen the advert, or you haven't even seen the advert. This guy did not see an advert. There was no advert. He was the advert. He prompted a conversation. Were they looking for a head of recruitment or a head of marketing or a head of training? I don't know. I can't answer that question. But I know they weren't advertising. So that's the issue. Some jobs never get advertised. Here's an opportunity. Write to the people involved. Be personal. Be unique. Because I guarantee that is the early bird that will catch the worm, because you will spark something in the other person's thought process. They will respond to you because you've taken time out of the ordinary. You haven't applied online. You've taken personal time. You've looked at the organization. You've told them why you want to join them. You've given them your experience. They will respond to you. And the issue is here, if they don't respond to you, you don't want to work for them, because they don't value people. So there's two wins here. The first win is if they respond to you, result. I can't guarantee you'll get an interview, but I think you're going to have a better chance of getting an interview than anybody else. The second thing is if they don't respond to you, bing, bing, big X. Do not approach that company. Alternatively, it gives you an opportunity to write to the chief exec and say, I wrote this very personal letter. I'm disappointed that this person couldn't even respond to me. And see what the chief exec says. Because they will not like that, I can assure you. If they're a leader, they will not like it. And the other thing is, if you don't get a response from the chief exec, it's not the first cross, it's not the second cross, it's 3 crosses. 3 strikes, you are out. And then you can go publicly, and say, these people don't even respond to personal letters. Why are you buying things from them? No. The world needs organizations that believe in people and they believe in you as customers. So you're going to be doing a great job for these customers that are out there. So there was a great phrase many years ago that was unfortunately a spitting image character. For those that don't know spitting image, I suggest you look it on YouTube because it's very funny. They take the mickey out of politicians, they make a puppet out of the politicians, and I can assure you it's not a very flattering puppet. It accentuates the negative side in individuals. And there was a person called Norman Tebbit in the UK government, in the cabinet, and he said, get on your bike. In other words, it's your responsibility. Go and do it. Don't just wait for something to land in your lap. It had a different connotation then, but get on your bike. Do what this guy did. Put a placard there. You can't stand in Leeds City Station if you're in India because it's a long flight, but you can do something similar.
Well, in fact, this has given me ideas, our discussion today. And the key here is to create a differentiation for yourself. And if you send your CVs, you will be lost in the thousands and thousands of oceans of CVs, and there's a chance that you may not be able to differentiate. So there is a method of building a presentation, sharing it about you to the person of the company that you want to get hired, or we can help you actually get interviewed with us, and that will be a great differentiation because you will stand out. Send this video to the company where you want to get employed, and that will be a clincher because now you're differentiating yourself.
Well, the interesting thing is we are doing that in a competition, as you well know, in the SOTI Awards. It happens to be Wednesday, I think. Yes. So normally we would have done a SOTI Wednesday, but this is the SOTI Wednesday. It's the Speaker of the Year Awards. And the thing is, here's an opportunity. Get involved. Your video will be in front of thousands of employers around the world. And someone will employ you, just like this guy stood on Leeds City Centre, right in the middle of the railway station with a placard. We're doing the equivalent for you. We're not making it hugely easy because you've still got to do all the work, but we're giving you a platform where it can go. So rather than stand on platform 9 of Leeds City Railway Station, you can sit on our platform. There's a bit of a plug that we didn't even think there was coming out of today, but it is about uniqueness. It is about you selling yourself. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. But frankly, this person at 63 years old did something different. Why don't you?
Absolutely.
Don't give us excuses.
Absolutely, Naval. I think this is a very good message that, or a tip we are giving to a lot of people in the industry. They have to differentiate themselves. They have to find out the ways of doing it. Thank you very much for giving your time to us today. I think this tip will be very useful for a lot of people.
I hope so. Early bird catches the worm. Don't have an excuse. Get out there and do something.
Thank you so much, Naval. You have a nice day. We will catch up tomorrow.
Yep. See you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and I'm very honored to have Mr. Naval Gund on our show today. Naval is chairman of Mindfit Limited UK, and we have tied up with him to bring the world best leadership program. And today he will tell us about how to come up in life while working under pressure. So, Naval, welcome to the show.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And we've all had pressure on us at one time of our life. Students have pressure all the time. Students are under pressure at the moment because most are working from home. They're not seeing their teachers on a regular basis. It's all digital. They may be in a household where there are 2 or 3 young people around them and they all want to use that PC at the same time because we're not all inundated with a PC per person, especially in large families. So the pressure's on. The pressure's always on. So, working under pressure, CK. Have you ever worked under pressure?
Well, I got used to this pressure, Neville, maybe, but I think there could be more pressure on me. I'm not having so much pressure.
Well, I think the interesting thing is, and a lot of people are now going to say, I don't believe that. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what people will say when I say the next thing. You actually create your own pressure. You put yourself in a pressurized position because we're not very good at managing time. So here's, for instance, okay? You've got young children and they've got homework to do. Do they diligently go away and do their homework? Or are they on the PC, on the Game Boy, playing their games, watching Netflix, pushing homework off to one side until you turn around and say, you've got homework to do, television off, go to your room and do your homework. So what happens? Are they brilliant students and go and do the homework without you telling them?
Not at all, Neville. In fact, they're not doing their homework, and the
You
teachers.
kept a straight face there, CK, and I was actually wondering what you were going to say, but no, they don't. And the thing is, they're making their own pressure. They know that they've got homework to do, and we all know what we've got to do. And in business, there's this. You can even buy these pads, and at the top it says to-do list. And the list goes on and on and on and on. I'm sure you've had this from time to time, maybe in your career. And you keep writing things down. Then you flip the page and you write a few more things down. And then you think, well, I'm getting to the 3rd page now. I'm not going to do that anymore. And you put it to one side. And that to-do list ends up being a to-do list. But when are you going to do it? And the thing is, the longer you put it off, the more pressure you're going to be under. Is it a classic example? I mean, I know most people are in lockdown currently, but if you've got a Zoom meeting, okay, do you expect your clients to turn up slightly ahead of time or on time or late?
Well, my expectation is to all the people to turn up on time and not definitely late. They should be on time.
Okay. So we're even in this digital world, okay, and we're in Zoom, and we've not had this discussion before, so this is an interesting one. Do people turn up late?
About 50% people turn up late. Um,
So
but not too late.
even when it's Zoom and they haven't had traffic and they haven't had to negotiate, other people on the road, and they haven't had to time their train journey or get the flight or check in or leave their hotel on time, 50% don't turn up to a Zoom conference, digital conference on time. Interesting, isn't it? And I would think that's probably the same for most people. But immediately you put yourself under pressure because now you're late for that Zoom meeting. the likelihood is, if you're a busy person like me and like you, you've allowed a certain amount of time. And if you're smart, you've allowed more time than you think it might need. But if you literally have got your appointments back to back, you're going to be under pressure, because it's going to be coming up to the last 10 minutes of the conversation, and you know you've got to go in 10 minutes. But the thing is, it's really interesting where you are, and you haven't given yourself enough time to make that communication, that conversation count. So what happens? The likelihood is you run over. So you've run over the first, you've got late there, you've now run over this one, and let's say you run over this one by half an hour, and all of a sudden you're putting yourself under more pressure. Now, I don't believe anyone listening here is going to disagree with me, because most people are going to say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I do that all the time. So the point is, now what we need to do is to work out how not to work under pressure. In other words, don't put yourself under pressure. But when you are under pressure, how to cope with the pressure. So there's two different things we need to be working on. And if you're like a lot of people out there, when you get under pressure, your work declines. The quality of your work declines. Therefore, you're not putting in your best effort. There are a few people, and I'm one of them, that actually love working under pressure. I love working to tight deadlines. Not that I'm lazy, not that it's the only time I do my best work, but I can feel the adrenaline moving, you know? And you and I have been working on a few things over the last couple of years, CK, and you know that when we get to that, final point, we've given it our best, despite the fact we've worked up right up to the last minute. But the majority of people will not be able to give their best because the pressure will take over. You will feed the pressure, and you're constantly looking up at the clock. Am I running out of time? And while you're doing that, the brain's not being the best it is on the project you're currently working on. These are quite simple things, and I can see you smiling, and you're probably thinking of times when you did that, CK. But we all do it, don't we? We all time watch, oh, have I run out of time yet?
Yes, it's very funny that you mentioned to-do list, Neval, because this is exactly what happens to me, where you make a list and then you throw it out after a week because that to-do list is now stale. There are other things on the plate, including those which were listed on the to-do list. So now the list is much bigger, the pressure is mounting on. I think we all deal with that, and year on year, day by day, month on month, we actually handle this. So I think the important thing is your program, leadership program, has worked out a method of training people like us, whether you are a student or a chief executive, to help your brain fine tune so that you can handle the pressure. I think we would like to know more about that.
Well, the interesting thing is that handling pressure is different for everybody. And we've all got our own mechanisms. And it's a question of, do we know that we've got our own mechanisms? So if you actually say to someone, can you handle pressure? And they're in a real, what you perceive as a pressurized job, yes, they're obviously handling pressure, but they may not feel that way. They may be in this imposter syndrome arena where they don't believe they're handling pressure very well. The reality is they probably are, but they don't feel it because they're feeling under pressure. So this feeling you need to evaporate. You actually say, I've got this task. I'm going to spend this amount of time on it because that's what the budget says, basically. Well, that's what I can afford to spend on it. And I'm going to make the most of it in that particular time. That's being focused, being determined. And what that means is you need to take away all of the other distractions. And one of those could be that your mobile phone. You leave it, you leave the volume off, you switch the volume off, but actually you see it flash, you know. And if you're a really busy person, it flashes quite a lot, actually. A WhatsApp message comes in, a Twitter feed comes in, an email comes in, a person's trying to contact you, that comes in, it will flash on your phone. That's what they're designed to do. It's supposed to help you manage your day. What it's actually doing, if you're in this pressure syndrome, is it's adding to your pressure, because it's immediately saying, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this to do. And what that means is, while you're thinking about I've got this and this and this to do, you're not actually focused on what you're doing. Now, it's common sense, really. And the thing is, people don't know how to focus. But they do when you explain to them, what do you do? How do you do this? Where do you do it? How good are you at doing it here and there? And the whole purpose of a program is to help you explore who you are. Not who I am and not who you are, CK, but it's the individual going through the process. So they literally look in the mirror and say, who am I? And once they then literally create their own prescription as who they are. And the nice thing is, there's for every identification of your weaknesses, there's always a solution to improve a weakness. And that's the purpose of a coach, of a good program, as you call it. And that's what we do.
Fantastic, Naval. In fact, people who are watching this video, we just want to inform that this is a very ingenious way of handling things. And there are many aspects of leadership, and working under pressure is one of the key aspects, because every leader, every person who's actually working on a project need to have these qualities. So the MindFit, which is a world-renowned program for leadership, has this subject of how to work under pressure as one of the key areas of improvement included. So you can write to us. This is just a precursor. Please come and join the program. Write to me or write to Neville directly and know more about it. So Neville, you have anything else to add before we end?
Well, the world needs leaders, CK, as we've said many times before. We need people that can lead others, can get the best out of other people. And to do that, you've really got to get the best out of yourself first. So that's where we start. We look in the mirror. And if you really want to go and motivate yourself today, just type into Google or YouTube, one of your favorite songs about reflection. I love Michael Jackson's The Man in the Mirror. I think it's brilliant. I love the tone, I love the music. More importantly, I love the lyrics, because it says, if you want to make a change, take a look at yourself and change. So that's the whole purpose of being MindFit. Do it yourself first, and then you have the rite of passage, the operating license to go and help others. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it is, for a lot of people, it's going to be going back to basics, because we don't learn this at school. We don't learn this in the education arena. We make an assumption we learn it. When we network with other people, there is an assumption that we know how to communicate with other people. And if you notice, when you go to a networking meeting, some people are really good at networking. And then you put yourself under pressure because you say, well, they're really good at it and I'm not. It's this self-imposition, I'm no good. Well, yes, you are, actually. Everyone's a genius. It's just that they haven't found it yet. So it's a fascinating arena. And the more we can do with people around the world, the better the place will be. Simple as that.
Yes, Neville. In fact, MindFit program is a need of the hour, especially now, and especially in India. I think all of us and most of us who are in profession, in teaching, education, they should actually look at this program and join in. So Thank you very much, Naval, for joining us today. We will catch up with you again tomorrow with something more interesting.
See you tomorrow, CK. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the day.
Bye-bye. Hello friends, this is Akulmach Live and my name is Chandrakant. Today we will discuss about how to have a pragmatic approach towards partnership. It is very important to have a very well thought strategy around partnership, especially now when we are forced to have a lot of partnership within our country as well as across the borders into multiple countries. So we will have a very distinguished guest joining us to discuss this subject. He's joining us from UK. I will take a short break and join back with my guest. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, friends, and I'm very happy to have our guest today with us, Mr. Mike Bradley, who is joining us from UK today, and we have a very interesting subject to discuss. It's about pragmatic approach towards partnership. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, sir. Very good indeed. And we've had a little bit of Indian summer weather for the last week, so I've been enjoying it, getting out to the beach and getting out on the motorbike and all that sort of stuff. So very good.
Fantastic. So we are actually quite wet here. So the world which is reeling under the wet monsoon or rains, I think there are other areas who are actually enjoying yourself, or there are other extremes where there are forest fires. So I think world is going crazy as far as environment is concerned.
It certainly is. It's been warned for a while now, and here we all are, sort of still trying to go on our own sweet way, do things exactly as we did before, and then wondering why things are getting worse, and the weather, the weather's getting more crazy, and the world's getting warmer. But it's okay to point the finger and say someone else can give up meat or can stop traveling around, but we all want to keep doing the same things as before. So lot's going to change unless we all take responsibility, I don't think.
Absolutely. For the benefit of viewers, Mike actually heads one of the very fantastic company based in UK, and that company is called Scale Up Arena, and they actually do a lot of partnership. They help a lot of partners to come together and help them to do business together. So today's subject is also very interesting. It is pragmatic approach towards partnership. So Mike, since you deal in this particular domain, why don't you tell our viewers how we should do partnership and what is the most pragmatic approach? I think you can split it down into multiple sessions. So today being the first one.
Okay. Well, I think, obviously partnerships are all about people. That's the first thing to say. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a niche market, whether you're in a national market, whether you're trying to go global, basically it's going to come down to the people that you work with. So what the key to a good partnering approach is to start from the premise that it's the people you have to work with. So I've got a little, what I call 5 C's, another one, my alliterations, which I think are quite crucial in this area. The first one is both parties, and there's that old cliche win-win, and you have to ensure that there is a win-win in the partnership that you're trying to set up. And that means it's got to be, the first C, complementary. So there's no point seeking to do a partnership where one party feels that it's disadvantaged or it's not equally in its own interest to the other party. So it's got to be completely complementary to what's going on at the moment. Doesn't matter where that is, what sector it is. It mustn't be seen to be competitive, and it's got to be seen to be helping to do the existing business plus incrementally add something extra. So that's my first C, if you like. Would you agree with that one, Chandra?
Yes, Mike, I think that's quite interesting. But when we are working across the border between multiple countries, what is your advice to people? Because, now the different business houses are coming from totally different cultures. Sometimes cracking a joke is accepted, but in other countries, when you talk business, they are very, very serious. So how do you handle this? And I think today's subject is pragmatic. So how do you handle this situation pragmatically?
That is my second C, culture. Now, what you have to do is be aware of the culture in which you're trying to trade. Setting aside, and there's that old expression, separate the people from the problem. So what you're doing is you're supplying a solution to a problem. Doesn't matter where it is. But you cannot separate the people and the culture of those people from trying to sell your solution and solve the problem. So you have to recognize that the norms for the culture you're working in are going to be different. The traditions, when deals are done, are they done, over breakfast meetings? Are they done at lunch? Are they done purely on a pragmatic, purely professional, non-personal basis? And so you have to be able to understand those cultures. So in order to work with the culture, the most sensible approach is to work local. So you can have your product, supply it into the market, but work in conjunction with local delivery partners, because they are the ones who are going to understand the people, know the cultures, know whether you should offer a mango lassi or a pint of lager. All those sort of things are really important. So culture is the second C. So I'm glad you picked me up on that one. So that's my second recommendation, is you're culturally sensitive and you work in a complementary way with the local culture. My third C is communication. So what you have to do is ensure that there is good, clear, open lines of communication between you. That the objective, the product, the solution has a very clear definition, what it is, why it's important, how it's delivered, and most importantly, who it gets delivered to. And you've got to very clearly ensure that the messages that go with the product fit the culture and fit the communication of that culture. Because we could, and I think we see this between India and the UK. Sometimes the sentences that we put together in the UK aren't quite so straightforward when they're translated into the Indian culture, and vice versa. So it's very easy to misinterpret a sentence. So we have to really ensure that the communication is crystal clear, and what the proposition is and how it benefits and the deliverables it gives are clear in the culture and the language of the partner you're working with.
Well, Mike, I think that is for sure very important point that you have mentioned today. But sometimes, people don't have that exposure, to get these 3 C's, learning on these 3 C's that you talk about. And these are, I think, the starting point of any partnership. What they should do, are there any books or is there any help available where people can learn? I mean, for example, India is okay. It's not very bad. But if you go too further east, it can be really, really, really bad, even for Indians, because we don't understand Japanese culture. We don't understand Chinese culture, Korean, what they like, how they sit. When you're walking and not looking at them, does it mean anything? Does not mean anything. So we don't know. So I think we can be cool between UK, US and India, where we don't care about these things, but then there are other people who actually care about these things. So is there something like this available? And you already mentioned that we work with a local partner. I think that is one stopgap. But then again, how do you handle the local partner also? Because the local partner will also be from that country. So I think that's a challenge. How do you handle this whole situation?
Yeah, I think there's, and that comes down to the fourth C, funny enough, which is contacts. So what you do is you're establishing a contacts within the partner. You probably need to identify the person who's going to be your inside sponsor, your inside contact person. You build up rapport with that person. You then start to understand how each other work and what the solution is and how it's delivered. But also there are, if you're going to, shall we say, a very different culture, there are training sessions and there are online courses that you can take to say, if I'm going to do work in Japan, what do I need to understand? And there are courses for that sort of thing, and they're all online. It's very easy to get familiar with, say, the executive level approach, or how people interact with each other, how contacts work, how you trade, when do you ask for the order, or do you not ask for the order? Do you offer something else? And then they say, oh, yes, I want 3 million of those. And you say, yes, fine. So again, it comes down to contacts and building rapport. It's all about the people. At the end of the day, it's between two people that the deal's going to end up working. So we have to be adaptable. It's something I think you can learn. It's a form of, I suppose you could call it cultural intelligence as opposed to emotional intelligence. So I think you can develop cultural intelligence. The more you travel, the more you work, the more you realize that there are a lot of similarities between people across the world, and there's fractional changes that are important, that differentiate the different cultures, and you've got to be sensitive to those, be open, willing to learn, etc. And then, of course, the final C is clients, because ultimately, to make the partnership work, you need to actually identify who are the best clients to go after with that partner. And because of focus, resources, objective, which I believe is productivity, performance, and payback, what you have to do is you have to work with the local teams, the local executives, the local sales management, and say, well, okay, let's look at your client base. I don't want to talk to the 80% of clients who do virtually nothing with you. Let's focus in on the 20% of clients that are your best clients. Now let's pick 1, 2, or 3 of those, and we will go and talk to those clients together. And initially it's like, I will do the pitch because I know my product. Over the course of time, you'll get the hang of it. And then you can start using and telling people about the product as well. Because initially there needs to be a lot of support around the solution, how it deploys, etc. And this can be a future session. We can talk about the 4 pillars, and we can also talk about how you accelerate the growth. But it comes down to clients, comes down to focus. Don't try and talk to everybody because you're not going to win that. The short-term opportunity is to break into the biggest clients where they know your partner, and your partner walks in and they're the trusted advisor. And when your partner walks in and the CEO of the client says, or the board level says, actually, you know what, because you've walked in with this company, I will talk to you. I'm interested to hear what you've got. That's complementary with what we're already buying from our partner. And that's when things start to happen. Of course, there is a sort of a 6th C, which I didn't mention as one of the 5, but I think it's something that if you've got it, flaunt it, is what I call charm, which is the ability to actually get on with people, the way you can actually interact, build bridges, because, I don't know, for all the other reasons we've talked about, you have the ability to communicate properly with people. So I think a bit of charm comes into it as well.
Well, Mike, I think sometimes asking for order can be beating around the bush always, because you don't understand, when to ask, what is the timing, what is a right process, ways, so you're always beating the bush. I think this is a very interesting subject, and we cannot finish this in very short period of time. So we will continue our discussion next week on the pragmatic approach towards partnership with the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this information. And we'll catch up again in the next show, Mike.
Been a pleasure, and I'm happy to elucidate a little further. Say a little more.
Bye-bye for today. We'll catch up next week.
Yeah, take care, Chandra.
Hello friends, this is Akulmach Live and I am Chandrakant. So much bad news is now coming. If you look at the top newspaper or read any mainstream media, you will have all the statistics, you will have all these, when the vaccination is coming, a lot of politics is being discussed openly. So the challenge for us is, how do we keep our positive outlook? How do we maintain that, we always have a good, events going to happen beyond the horizon? How do we maintain that as a business leader? Or in fact, this is a hallmark of the leadership. So to discuss this very important subject, I have been joined by a very important, very senior industry colleague of ours, joining me from UK. So an outstanding show coming up. Friends, there is also a giveaway. So please stick around in the show. We will tell you in the end how you can claim your free gift. Friends, let us welcome our guest today. His name is Mike Bradley. He is joining us from UK and he is Group Chief Strategy Officer of RHF and Scale Up Arena. So we will welcome him without further ado and we will ask him a very, very specific leadership question today. Mike, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon to you, Chandra. Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm very good, Mike, and fortunately the curve of infection has sort of flattened. It's still growing, but it is sort of flattened because of the lockdown, which was announced a couple of days back.
Right.
So
that's very positive news. That's very positive.
Yes. So I think the question today is...
keep our fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that continues.
The question really is, how do we maintain a positive outlook, or how do we remain positive with positive mind frame in the event of adversity? That's really the question for leaders and your advice for the leaders.
Absolutely. I also would phrase that as the art of true leadership, because I think anybody can lead when things are going well. But the mark of true example and leadership is when things are going badly, that person can still maintain the support and the spirit that enables somebody to overcome the challenge. So for me, that, maintaining a positive spirit in the face of adversity is the art of true leadership.
So much bad news and new mutation of corona. Because of that, people are having a lot of hindrance in their day-to-day activities. The strategy planning also is not working because what strategy to plan for what month. So all those of complexities are now coming up in the business. So what is your advice? How do we maintain a positive outlook towards our business?
Well, I think one of the first things that's most important is we must maintain a positive outlook. We must always look for the positives in every situation, because if you don't, it's a downward spiral and things will only get worse. So the trick, I believe, is to get up one more time than you get knocked down. So I think there are 3 E's that come to mind when it comes to overcoming adversity. There is endurance, obviously. There is endeavor, and there is endearment. And I think those 3 E's apply in all situations, obviously in business, but also in education, in family, in health, in government, and of course, least likely to occur is in the media. Because, and I think, let's start with the negatives around this first. The first thing to do if you want to maintain a positive spirit in the face of adversity is don't go and talk to the miserable people or the miserable leaders, because they will drag you down. They will bring you quite happily into their downward spiral staircase, and you'll all be going down to the abyss together. So the first thing to do is to avoid spending time with those people who are always on the negative. Second thing to avoid is to avoid taking the mainstream media too seriously. Because if we listen to the media or we read the media too much, they love a story. And there's an old expression that used to be, bad news travels like wildfire. You know, what sells, what gets viewers, nothing better than a good old tragedy or some scandal. Some negativity will always get the attention. And a few years ago, there was a newscaster in the UK called Martin Lewis, and he basically was saying we should have more good news. And of course, he was very unpopular for saying this because, you know, unfortunately, good old auntie does not like good news. They really like to stir things up. And so they'll always look for the negatives. So the second thing to avoid is the mainstream media. Don't expect to get up every day, read the paper, and then have a positive outlook, because you will be, you know, disappointed. Because I can guarantee you, if you open up the front page of any Indian newspaper or any UK newspaper, particularly the red tops, as we call them, you will see a negative headline, because they love to drill into that. And of course, we all read these things and we all, you know, but what actually happens is nobody actually gets anywhere by focusing on the negatives. You know, and I think as an example, you know, if wars start when both sides focus on the negatives, they seek revenge, okay? But the only way you ever resolve an argument or a challenge is to sit down with the other component parts, the other party, the other opposition, and say, how now can we solve this problem? It's only, and every war ends up with a sitting around the table of the two parties who originally started the war. So the crazy thing is you have all this negativity in between, lots of deaths, lots of collateral damage. And at the end of the day, what solves the problem? Sitting around a table and seeking to find a positive way forward. So short circuit all that and start, I would suggest, with looking at the 3 positives I said, the 3 E's. So the first thing you have to do is obviously work hard, endeavor. Okay, so there is no point sitting in the middle of a room, head in hands. Oh dear, I've got a terrible situation. It's terrible. It's bad news. All I would say is stand up, get up, start trying to open the doors that you can see. You may get 9 doors slammed in your face, but the 10th door will be the one that opens. So the key to that is, you know, leave no stone unturned. You as an individual a leader, a worker, a member of the family, you are the only person that can change the situation to a positive. And you can only do that by trying to open the doors that are immediately in front of you. It's like nobody climbs a staircase by jumping to the top. You have to climb one step at a time. But who has to take that first step? You as an individual have to. So, first of all, endeavor is vital. Yeah? Do you agree with that? And now I'll give you the next one.
Well, I think very good advice. So very important. Stay away from naysayers, negative people is absolutely essential for our own good. And also not look at the mainstream media too seriously. I mean, you can look at it, but not too seriously. But I have a question, Mike.
Exactly.
The question is that, people used to read the newspaper and whatever they can grab, and they used to call themselves information junkie. And what happens to those kind of people who have this urge of knowing what is going on? Current affairs, they have to know everything, every bit of it, because that helps them decide the next move. What happens to those kind of people?
Well, I would probably fall into the same category myself, actually, Chandra, because I spent, longer than I care to admit, several decades being very interested in current affairs and politics. So yeah, I'm one of those. I will read the the intelligent paper, I would say, not the red tops. I'll read a semi-intelligent paper at the weekends. I will always watch the news. My father used to be compulsive about watching it. He'd sort of watch the 1 o'clock and then watch the 6 o'clock maybe, and he may even get around to watching 10 o'clock as well. I don't think the stories was that varied. Even in his old age, he didn't forget them, but maybe there was a slightly different slant, a little update. So I don't think there's anything inherently bad in following current affairs. In fact, when you're approaching these doors, we said you've got to keep banging on. If you don't take account of the environment that you're living in, then you're not going to actually take the right course of action. So I think, being aware of current affairs is very important. Also, I think on the opposite side of what we said about mainstream media, Akulmach, for example, is a positive influence. Okay, listen to Akulmach every day. If you're having a negative situation, have some encouragement, have some positive input. And that's, I think, you've got a major contribution to make on that, Chandra. You're a decent, positive person, and you're running this show, and everything about this show is positive. So, you could do worse than tune into this every day if you've got a problem. And that brings me to the second E, which is, in my opinion, endearment. Because actually what we need around us is not the naysayers, but on the opposite side of the equation, you want the encouragers around you. You want the positive thinkers, the creatives, the people who say, actually, what about if you tried this? Or, I know, you could work with me in this particular instance, and we could together overcome the challenge. So look for partnerships, look for joint ventures, look for people that are around you that you can build relationships with who are positive and make, the old word synergy, 1 and 1 equals 3. So find people around you who are going to actually contribute something positive in the face of that adverse situation. And that is, for me, the second vital element is not only are there the doors that you can go and open, but actually, if there's 2 of you trying to open doors, there's twice as many doors potentially to be opened. And you never know what might come from that. Because as we know, within the scale-up arena environment and within business growth environments, you don't get to enter into international markets unless you do it in conjunction with somebody locally. So, partnerships and joint ventures, having and finding those people that you can build this endearment relationship with, whether it be business or personal, will certainly help not only to maintain a positive spirit, but actually to maybe even establish a positive path forwards. So I would suggest, that's the second E, very much so. And as I said, Chandra, you're a positive person, you're an encouraging person, you're a good listener. And therefore, the show that you're producing, I believe, has a very positive contribution to make to that. And I think if more people listen to Akulmach and listen to your discourses, particularly if they are facing an adverse situation, they may get some ideas, they may be able to glean from the positive endearment and endeavour spirit that comes through the show. You can pay me later.
Well, definitely this is not rehearsed, and thank you so much for giving such nice compliments. We're trying our bit to not to have any negative impact, and we always cover the positive side. We always give advices to business because everybody needs advices. We also help people in networking. So try to maintain the positive outlook. So thank you so much once again, Mike.
Pleasure. And I think for me, the third E, if you like, is endurance. Okay, nobody ever said the journey was going to be easy. Nobody said that the difficulties are going to be over by, well, what time would it be for you? By 5 o'clock this afternoon. Nobody said it was going to be finishing and that it would be all plain sailing from now till the end of time. However, one thing's for sure, if you give up, you're never going to arrive. You're never going to break out of that situation. So, and I think it was, I think we've used this before, but on the expression that it's never over until you've actually achieved the objective. So if there's still the opportunities there, the situation isn't finished. And even if you get knocked down, the key is to stand up again. Some people have lost everything and then come back and made a fortune. So it's never over until you've actually given up in your mind. And those three E's, the endeavor, the endearment, the endurance, they came to me as the approach that a chap called Ernest Shackleton took. He was an explorer who, in the beginning of the last century, 1912, he used to do explorational journeys to the South Pole. And on one of these, he went down to the South Pole from the UK, and unfortunately, his wooden ship got frozen in the ice. And it wasn't just frozen for a week. It wasn't just frozen for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. He was actually stuck in the ice for, I believe, it was 15 months. It was way over a year. And and he obviously had a team of people, a team of men with him on that trip. And basically those were the three characteristics of his leadership style that it meant that actually at the end of that period, and this is just a demonstration of endurance and endeavor, to manage to rescue his entire crew, which is what happened in the end. He didn't lose a man. And basically, when there was sufficient melting of the ice, what he did was him and two or three of his crew members, they rowed from where they were stuck in pack ice to South Georgia in the South Atlantic. They actually rowed it, got support and supplies, and rescued the rest of the crew. So again, if he'd given up, he would never have rescued his crew, but he never gave up. And to me, that's probably the most amazing example of leadership. If you can imagine 15 months stuck in white snow or ice with virtually no food, with virtually nothing to do. I mean, I think they used to play football for a team sport, for endearment, for, keeping their spirits up. I'm not so much a football fan, but I think even in that context, I would have played football. I'd have probably gone for rugby, but since there were no hospitals to fix broken collarbones, football was probably a better option. But for me, that and when we were talking about how do you maintain a positive spirit in the face of adversity, how many times in 15 months you must have woken up and wished, well, I wish today we'd had some melted ice, but no, we haven't. Another day, we got to endure, we got to work, got to keep busy, got to keep eating, got to keep positive, and we've got to keep working together. And because of his leadership spirit, and for me, that is probably the best example of leadership that I can think of. And then there was, Horatio Nelson, who was quite a famous admiral a couple of 100 years ago. And just before the Battle of Trafalgar, he had a fleet of ships, and he used, and I couldn't tell you what it looked like, but he used flags to signify a message to his fleet. And the flags he signaled, and the message he signaled was, England expects every man to do their duty. And I think that's the other key, is we as individuals, in the face of adversity, have to do our bit. There's no point in expecting your next door neighbour to do it for you or somebody else to come bail you out. They've got their own challenges to resolve. Maybe they've got their own adversities. But one thing's for sure, if you sat down with your neighbour at a safe social distance, and maybe had a cup of chai and chatted through your challenges, built the rapport, given a bit of encouragement, a bit of support, some creative ideas, there is much more chance that something positive is going to happen for both of you if you both sit down and, mournfully think about how bad my situation is. I can't get out of this and blah, blah, blah. Because the other good thing is you're not alone in it. Particularly in the current situation, there's an awful lot of people in the same boat. And the other point that's relevant is there's always somebody worse off. It's not always easy to think that. Sometimes we want to be inward looking and thinking how miserable our situation is. But actually, the only way to look at it is to say, actually, I could be much worse off. If you've got a roof over your head, you're far better off than somebody who hasn't got a roof over their head. If you had something to eat today, you're far better off than somebody who hasn't had anything to eat yet today. So whatever happens, you've got to be, count your blessings. Because if you don't count your blessings and keep positive, you'll join the naysayers and the mainstream media on the spiral down. And that there's only one way that you go down, and that's to the abyss. The only way is up and forwards, in my view. So how do you maintain a positive spirit? You've got to work at it with endeavour, endurance and endearment.
Well, Mike, you gave a very good example of Mr. Shackleton. I think people who have not read about him must read and understand what is this endurance is all about. I think he went to the North Pole and then he wanted to find the South Pole, and that's when all these events happened, and I think many more events. His life is an example for everyone.
Yeah, very interesting.
So I think some of these very positive words came out from our discussion today. I think you are speaking from the heart and saying that, hey, let's not, there is no need to lose hope. in any adverse situation, we have to keep our positive outlook always, because something good will happen beyond the horizon. So I think that is what your advice is to our viewers, isn't it, Mike?
Absolutely, 100%. And the contribution from someone like yourself. And don't take for granted those people who can add a positive contribution in your life, because they are the ones who are going to help you get through whatever adversity you're facing today.
Absolutely. I think these are some of the positive encouragement we have got today from you, Mike. And I'll tell the viewers that if in case they want to talk to Mike, please contact us. We will make that happen. We will bring you live and you can discuss directly with Mike. So with this positive outlook and advice, I'd like to end today's show. Mike, thank you so much for finding time and coming and discussing and telling us so many good words today.
It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Chandra.
Thank you, Mike. And I will catch up with you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
We have some unique Akulmach memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best for free. You have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmach gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmach and smash that like button. Hello friends, this is Akulmach Live and I'm your friend Chandrakant. This video is sponsored by Performance Works International. More about them in a bit. But today's discussion is very interesting. Have you ever wondered that whenever you go and buy ready-made clothes for yourself, they don't fit? Same is the case with shoes. And many other things, So I think there is something that is missing, especially when it comes to the measurement for Indians. And this is exactly what we want to discuss today. So if you look at the standards, then we already know that these standards are not fitting everyone. If you look at the market segment, it is not fitting the everyone in the sense that there is no size which you can buy, because we are forced to follow the standards which are prevalent in US and UK. In fact, if you go out and see the labels as well, they will tell you exactly that whatever shirt you're buying or whatever material that you're buying is basically a US standard or a UK standard. And that is why 30 to 40% people the standard will fit into 30 to 40%. What we need is a different measurement system, which is India specific. And the India specific measurement system is basically may fit up to 70% people. So I'm not saying that it is going to fit the 100%, but at least 70% of the people. And that is why so far, even after 75 years of independence, Indian government has not done this kind of a survey. They might have done this survey in the past, but they have not come out with their own standard of measurement. And that is why the Ministry of Textiles and NIFT, which is the National Institute of Fashion Technology, they have teamed up together and they are going to conduct a survey in a very unique manner. The survey will be conducted across the sidewalks in multiple cities. And basically, when we are doing this kind of measurement and this kind of survey, what it takes to come out with the standard for Indian sizes, it's basically we have to take numerous different measurements of different variety of people and then average them out. And that is why we need to take this average across the length and breadth of the country, because India, being a very large country, has people of different sizes and different races. Therefore, if we have to come out with an India-specific standard of measurement, which will include your clothes, also your shoes, then a lot of measurements are needed to be done. And once this survey is done, the average out of this will then form the all over India matrix for measurement across India. So if you see, how it will benefit the people, in one way it will benefit the manufacturers, because then they will basically make things which are meant for Indian population. They can very well say that, hey, my product, my clothes, my shoes, my wearable, whatever different things that I'm producing in my factory will be is being manufactured for Indian sizes. So if you can then very safely say, hey, this size will fit. Unlike the current situation, if you have a person like me will have to go for double XL, which may not fit me, and it may not fit me perfectly. So that is why it is going to benefit a lot of manufacturers who can then use this measurement to produce and to basically make sure that their measurements are fine-tuned to Indian population, and hence Indians will be able to choose whatever sizes they want to choose, and they will be very happy. So on the other side, the consumer will also get a lot of benefit, because now they don't have to follow US and UK standard. They can follow the Indian standard, and there will be a totally Indian measurement matrix. The survey is a very difficult thing, because you cannot spend a lot of time in making measurement, and it will look very odd when you're doing standing on a sidewalk and asking people to come and give their measurement. People will not come. So therefore, NIFT has devised this apparatus which will be put. It's going to be inside an enclosure, and it will have multiple sensors. So the people who are going to manage this booth, so they will create sort of a booth with all these sensors inside, and they can invite people, hey, we are doing some survey, please walk in and help us. So with that, if there is no measurement, there's no inch tape required, people will not hesitate. It's just a walkthrough. And as you walk through this apparatus, the measurements will be taken. So I think this is a very different method of taking the measurement, where the NIFT and under the consultation from Ministry of Textile is going to take thousands and thousands of different measurement across multiple cities, and they will be doing on the sidewalk of prominent places where there are a lot of people walking around. So for instance, in Delhi, it will be in an area called Connaught Place, and so on and so forth. So there will be public places where these apparatus will be kept, managed by people from NIFT, and they will ask people to come inside, walk through, and the sensors inside this apparatus will take the measurement and build the database. Once the database is built, the averaging numbers will then help Ministry of Textile to come up with India-specific size, size matrix, and then they will publish it so that different manufacturers can use this to manufacture, produce, and the consumers can then very safely buy the material which they can actually want to wear, and it will fit them perfectly. Not like compromise, only 30 to 40% population is happy right now with the US and UK standards, and nearly 60% population does not have the fit. So therefore, this will solve this issue, and I am very happy to bring this information back to you. Before I go, a word from our sponsor, and I will catch up with you next time with something even more interesting.
This video is sponsored by Performance Works International.
Are you ready for the challenges facing the modern workplace? Recent events have taught us the importance of transformation. Businesses now face a perfect storm of challenges. No business is too big to fail, and many are too slow to succeed. Our workforce is changing fast. We're entering a new age of empowerment, and everyone can contribute. The Inner CEO reveals how we can all play a part in making leading at all levels a reality. Written by Jeremy Blaine, an expert on business transformation and growth, it provides a roadmap to help everyone unleash their inner CEO and contribute beyond their job role, whatever their level. Traditionally, strategy has been owned by the few. Now it's time for the many to contribute. Leadership must come from a broader base. Everyone has the potential to step up and make things happen. It's a new model of collective and collaborative leadership which unleashes the power of people, enabled by appropriate technology and a supportive management structure. The book provides a roadmap for a bold new age of empowerment. Supported by a range of resources, the book provides a toolkit to help anyone unleash their inner CEO. Organisation health, development and growth is owned at all levels. Are you ready to unleash the inner CEO?
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and I welcome you all to Legal Matters. And today we want to discuss something very specific to India. And as you know that in India there is reservations for certain category of people. And sometimes if you are in government sector, you are exposed to this. And if you're in private sector, you are not really exposed to these things. So we will invite our expert today to know more about this reservation, how it has affected us, and who is eligible. So let me invite my friend from Ahmedabad, the great lawyer, Mr. Jeet Bhatt.
Thank you, Chandrakant, and I'm looking forward for this session.
So, how was the Christmas holidays treating you?
Well, it is good to be at home and celebrating Christmas with family, rather than going out and going outside in this COVID situation. So we are comfortable at our home.
Very good, Jeet. So I think our listeners and viewers would like to know first, what is this reservation and how this impacts the society by and large. So you can just start by giving your inputs on this reservation.
Yes, Chandrakant. In fact, it's a very important topic in this and reservation in public sector, civil services, government departments, and also in public and private educational institutions, uh, which reserves certain seats for the socially and educationally backward classes, the scheduled caste, and the scheduled tribe. Now, basically, if you see under the Constitution, which guarantees right to equality to every citizen under Article 14, but this right to equality also means that equals have to be treated equally, and unequals cannot be treated equally because you need different layers, wherein you can't treat the topmost layer of the society with the bottommost layer of the society. That is not the concept of equality. Also, under Article 15 and 16, which is also regarding the right to equality, it provides that the state cannot deny the equality of the equal opportunity only on the basis of race, caste, sex, religion, etc. But it also under the subclause 15 clause 3 and 16 clause 4 of the Constitution provide that nothing in these clauses would prevent the state from laying down certain policies to benefit these backward classes and socially and educationally backward communities, as well as it can make provisions for women and also for physically handicapped people, because a well-built person cannot and a physically disabled person, you can't treat both of them equally because both needs different parameters. A physically handicapped person cannot compete with a uh, with a with a normal person. So therefore, these backward communities, these physically disabled people, even including women, they need certain measures to bring them into the mainstream, and therefore that is what is known as the right to equality. Because if we deny them these treatments, then we are not treating them equal, and we are not providing them the platform which would bring them into the mainstream and which would alleviate their condition and bring them to the uh, which will give them the proper fundamental rights which they deserve. So therefore, reservations are not an exception to the right to equality, but they are a facet of the right to equality, and they foster equality, and therefore they are provided under the constitutional framework. And there is a National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe, which is provided under Article 338 of the Constitution. And uh, when the Constitution was drafted, there was a constitutional scheduled caste list which was created in the year 1950, which prescribed for around 1108 castes, which are termed to be as scheduled castes, are around as scheduled tribes. So the list is provided under this list, and they are to be provided reservations as per their population in different parts of the country. So reservation is provided in public employment, civil services, government departments, and also in all public and private educational institutions. So it is provided for seats reserved in educational institutions, for seats to be filled in public employment, and also provided for promotional avenues. Normally, we see around 15% seats are reserved for scheduled caste, around 7 to 8% are reserved for scheduled tribes, and around 27% seats are reserved for other than backward class, that is OBC, which is also which is derived from socially and educationally backward classes. So in 1979, it was felt that apart from SC and ST, there are several other backward classes which are not part of the mainstream in the society. And therefore, a Mandal Commission was set up in the year 1979, which studied the entire country and various castes and classes, and came to the conclusion that there are around more than 3,700 classes which are backward classes, are socially and economically backward. And they provided that some reservation should also be provided for them. And ultimately, it led to the famous case of Indira Sani, which is also known as Mandal Commission case, wherein in 1992, the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court uh, upheld the reservation for the backward classes, but provided a ceiling limit, saying that reservation in no case can be more than 50% of the available seats. So reservation provided for the backward communities like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and OBCs, the SEBC, cannot be more than 50% in any state in the country for the available seats. So this type of reservation for backward classes is also known as vertical reservation, because what has happened is that then reservation is also provided for women, also for physically handicapped candidates, also for ex-servicemen, and for relatives of freedom fighter. So this reservation, if you calculate with the vertical reservation for SC, ST, and SEBC, which comes to around 49%, and then add 33% for women, 3% for physically handicapped, and so and so for these people, ex-servicemen, it would become 80 to 90%. So what the Supreme Court held is that there are two types of reservations. One is vertical reservation, the other is horizontal reservation. So vertical reservation is for the backward classes, and horizontal reservation is also known as special reservation, is for women, physically handicapped, ex-servicemen, etc. So the special reservation for women physically handicapped is termed as horizontal reservation, and it cuts across the horizontal reservation. So it does not increase the reservation beyond 50%, but what it does is it cuts across and it is compartmentalized. So in order to understand this better, I would give an example. So for example, if there are 100 seats available for say a post of police inspector, and 51 seats are for open category, and 49 seats are reserved for backward communities like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and OBC. Now, if there are women, 33% reserved seat for women, then from 100 total seats, 33 seats would be reserved for women. But this would not mean that 77 other seats are reserved for men alone. Women can compete with men in open category as well as in reserved category. But the requirement is that 33% seats have to be filled of women. It cannot be less than that. So 33% seats for women will have to be filled. Now, if we look into the compartments, say for example, for open category, so 51 seats for open category, wherein, as per the judgments of Supreme Court, even the reserved category and the backward category can compete. And if they, on their own merit, are selected into the open category, then their numbers in their reserved category would not be depleted, or it will not affect them. Because in open category, there is no reservation. So any person being in any caste or tribe or in any community can compete in the open and general category. And if he is selected on his merit in open category, then that person would. So the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and OBC's reservation seats do not get affected. So they compete with the general category. So likewise, for 51 seats to be filled in open category, the 33% of 51 seats would be 17 seats. So 17 seats in open category will have to be filled by women. And if there, so what has to be done in the and what is done actually in the employment or agencies is that they create a first merit list of say around 100 or 120 candidates who have been selected in accordance with merit and in accordance with their caste reservation. So out of that, first 51 would be the general category. They are appointed as per their merit. They are in the top. So if from that 51, they will identify that whether there are 17, so that is 33% women, 17 seats of women are there or not. So if there are 17 women in that list of 51, then that horizontal reservation is complete. 33% seats are there, and women categories reservation is complete. So there is no need to further add more women category into it. But suppose, say for example, if there are only 10 women and 17 seats for women are reserved as per 33% reservation, then what is to be done is that from that list of 51, because there is a shortfall of 7 women, these 7 men who are selected at the bottom will have to be deleted. And from that list of 51 towards the end list, 7 women will have to be identified who are in accordance with their merit. And if 7 women are found, then those 7 women, though they are below in the select list, but they will, because of this reservation, they will find place in the top 51. And if 17 women are found, then that list is complete, and then those 51 persons can be appointed. Likewise, for scheduled caste, say for example, 15 seats are reserved for 15% reservation. So 33% will have to be reserved for women. So that would come to around, say, 5 seats. So if 5 seats are reserved for women, and in that list of 15 for scheduled caste, if 5 women are there, then that 33 reservation is complete. But say for example, there's 5 women are not available in the top 15 for list of scheduled caste, then the bottom, say for example, 2 women are there and out of 5 seats. So then the list will have to be seen, and 3 women will have to be picked which are of scheduled caste and which will have to be brought into that list of 15.
So Jeet, I think
Yes, sir.
you are explaining the horizontal and vertical. I think this gets quite complex, and that is a
Right.
challenge as a country we have. For example, you mentioned that there are more than 4,000 different caste categories which are covered under reservation. I will like to draw your attention to one aspect which is related to getting the person into the area where you want him to be. Basically, the reservation is to bring the equality among everyone, all citizens of India. That was the motive behind getting the reservation done. However, you can allow this person to get into this category, but you can't allow him to succeed when he actually passes through an examination, for instance, as an example. So let's say, and then, as you grow in life, your complexities of handling situations also grows along with the age. So when you're in school, then there is no problem. There is a reservation because everybody is going to study the same thing. As you grow in your education, and how far you can go is basically determined by how many exams you can clear. So you can get into management, you can get into MPhil, you can get into PhD. All that is determined by how many exams you can clear. The whole point is that if your score is less, then obviously you will not clear the exam. So you give the reservation, get people from all these 4,000 different categories and subcategories and the general category together so that everybody is equal. But when they go through the examination filtration, then many of these people who do not have reached that point based on meritocracy will not be able to cross the threshold. So I think, in my opinion, as a layman, I feel that I think this is not a right method of bringing equality. What is your opinion on that?
As you said, meritocracy ultimately suffers because, especially in educational institutions, we find that a lot of deserving candidates are not given seats in top institutions, and less deserving candidates of these reserved classes get appointed. But basically, that is the policy which has been established in this country since the constitution was drafted. And therefore, it is not correct to say that this policy is flawed or it is not correct. In fact, affirmative action is required. And because when you see the condition of what these communities was when when we became independent, it was terrible. They had no freedom, they had no rights, they were treated in extreme bad situations. So it was necessary to alleviate their condition. Therefore, this reservation policy was provided, and it has consistently grown, though it should decrease, because since 70 years we can't keep on increasing these reservation policies, because ultimately it affects meritocracy. But with regards to employment, if you see, then this applies only to government and the institutions which are funded by government. So, which amounts to only 10% in the entire sector, if you consider in India. The rest of the 90% of SC and ST uh, and uh, uh, and tribe population is employed in private sector, where there is no need for reservation. So education is what is important, and yes, to an extent, uh, ultimately the government will have to decide, rather than increasing and expanding the scope of reservation, it should ultimately bring it to meritocracy. But in order to curb this reservation, what they have provided is for the term called creamy layer. So the creamy layer, so those whose situation has increased or has been better, improved in last these so many years, so whose family's annual income is more than 8 lakhs. So those other than backward classes, so socially and educationally backward classes, who otherwise would get the reservation, would be kept out of this reservation if they are in the creamy layer. So therefore, those communities whose situation has improved over the years and whose income is better, or whose parents are in government jobs, or who have good jobs, their kids would not be entitled to reservation. So that is one area where the government has actually attempted to curb or restrict this reservation policy for them. And also gradually, if these communities lifestyle, their condition improves, then a lot of communities can be delisted from this list of around 5,000 communities which come under the other than backward class. And ultimately, we can reduce this percentage of reservation and give more weightage to meritocracy. But this policy is correct. I think they require this reservation, and this is enshrined in the principle of equality. Therefore, it is not correct to say that this policy is not good or bad.
All right, Jeet, I think when you present this logic, I think it looks logical. But I think at the same time, 4 to 5 generations have passed after we got independence in 1947. And initially, if I'm not mistaken, the reservation law was applicable for first 10 years, but then it has been extended continuously. And now it looks like that it is the right of the people. For instance, if I remember when I was small and in school, I learned, and I remember that very hard coded in my memory, that the president of India's is from one of these segments, and his daughter is applying for a reservation. So I think probably that those kind of things which are being corrected now, as you rightly said, that if you're in a creamy layer, your family income is more than 8 lakhs, then you're not deserving candidate to get the reservation. So I think this is great for clarifying all these things. However, I think somehow we have to bring the meritocracy also, because India is a very big country. We have to increase the amount of business people do, amount of jobs they have, whether private or public sector jobs, and that is the only way to bring the equality. That is my opinion as a layman.
No, absolutely. You are right. Ultimately, meritocracy should never suffer in any country. So, because otherwise, the best brains of this country would not want to live in this country. They would want to go abroad and settle there. So, yes, the premier institutions in this country, if they are also compelled to have this reservation policy, that affects. But then, uh, so some institutions, which are the premier institutions, should not be compelled to have this reservation policy. So yes, that can be a way forward to
There's another
meritocracy.
point I would like to make here, Jeet, and it's very realistic. I'm coming from the ground reality. Many of these guards and very low-end workers in our society who guard our buildings and places and all that, those are basically from certain state in India, and they are not belonging to the reserved category. Yet they live in a very, very pathetic situation because their income is so less, and they are forced to work as a laborer or a small menial job, leaving their family behind because they have nothing to do in their own state. So their situation is quite bad, and they have no reservation to help them also. So I think if you look at some of these category of people who are below poverty line, but yet not covered by any schemes under reservation, their their situation is also very bad. I think we have to look at as a country and as one society where we have to treat everyone equal. So I think, what is your opinion on this kind of problems that we have?
So, yes, Chandrakant, you are absolutely right, because based on economic condition, there can't be reservation. That is what is had been held in the landmark judgment of Sani. So, even if the government wants, they can't provide for reservation based on your economic condition. So, even if you are below poverty line, there can be certain measures which would help to elevate your condition, and government can launch programs. And there are lot of programs for below poverty line people. But based on, because of your economic condition, you cannot be you cannot have, or you cannot demand any seat reserved for you in educational and public employment. So that is one drawback. But I think the country is looking forward for having reservation. And if I'm not wrong, there is some constitutional amendment which is to be brought in, which provides for reservation to economically backward classes. And I think ultimately, over the years, if the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes condition improve, then ultimately the government can only think of having an economic reservation only for economically backward people. So their condition can improve over here.
Yeah, I think the government has started 10% reservation in addition to what we already have for the economically backward people, and cut across all category of people, whether they are whatever caste, creed, religion they are. So they are all covered under that, but that is only 10%. So I think gradually, to improve the scale of what we have today in our society, I think the 10% can increase by certain percentage, and the reserved category can reduce by certain percentage, depending on how the situation is. And I fully agree with you. When the independence was granted, then the people from certain segment of the society, they were not having any land with them. At that point in time, the measure of wealth was predominantly land, because there was nothing else for you to talk about. But that brings myself also in that same category, because we were city dwellers. We didn't have land. But I'm not talking about those kind of people who are similar to me. But then the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe did not have a provision to even have a land. So I think in those days the reservation was very relevant. I personally feel it is not so relevant now, because the government jobs are 10% and 90% are your entrepreneurship. That means if you are smart, you can succeed. And I can share my experience also with you, Jeet. I've been in the industry for 27 years. I've never worked for government or any public job. Uh, we have had very fantastic experience, and we don't even know who was the other person who was working for you. So I think in the private sector, nobody talks about these things, but reservation is there in the government sector. And you have any last word on this?
Uh, well, you are right, and it is good that wherever you have worked, in your experience, you have not found any discrimination. But I don't completely agree that in private sector there is no discrimination, or they are not looked down upon. In fact, I think in the 90% of private sector where these people are employed, there is discrimination, and there is subjugation of these castes. So which requires some. But yes, ultimately, uh, yes, if there is, if the casteist mentality of this country goes away, and then yes, then there, I don't think there would be any such deprivation or any discrimination for them.
Actually, you are right. I was just thinking about, when you were saying these things, I was thinking about discrimination at workplace. It's predominantly in certain states. For example, if you look at Tamil Nadu, the divide is so huge that it is only Brahmin or non-Brahmin. So here you talk about OBC, SC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, but the divide is so huge over there that it's all the top layer, and everybody else is a lower caste. So I think, but even in places like Chennai, the prominent places in Tamil Nadu, I have not seen too much of discrimination. It used to be there 20 years back. Gradually, it is going away. I think all of us, people who are educated and well placed, should not follow any discrimination of any sort or of any kind, and treat it very openly, like treat other human equal to yourself. Even if they are working for you, or if you're working for somebody, you should get the same treatment across. So I think with that, we can end our discussion today. It is a very difficult subject to discuss, but we wanted to bring this to you, to our listeners and viewers, and we welcome all inputs, because today you have heard two sides, where I am of the opinion that we should gradually reduce reservation, and Jeet is saying that we should continue with it until unless we are very sure that everybody is equal. So I think there are two sides in this discussion. Like to know your comments, and please engage with us, and we can put your comments in the next episode with Jeet. So thank you, Jeet, for joining us, and we will catch up next Thursday.
Thank you, Chandrakant, for having me.
Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live, and today, in fact, I want to ask you a question. Do you know which is the highest railway pier in the world? Well, this is a GK question, and the answer is it is the highest viaduct on the earth, and the height of this pier is about 139 meters from the ground, and it is situated in Montenegro in Europe, called Mala Reykjavik Viaduct. So far this has been the world record holder, highest viaduct in the world. But the information is that the Indian Railways has done it again, and they have actually set up a new world record. And Indian Railways, as you know, is the world biggest employer, and also having the third largest network in the world today. And they are actually building a road, in fact, in a very difficult terrain in the state of Manipur. And if you know that Manipur is the one of the seven sister state in the northeast sector of India, and this is located just at the border with India to Myanmar, and it is so far off. And for like so many years, it is so far off from the mainstream mainland India that it was largely neglected. And but now Indian Railways is actually doing a lot of work, and they are building a rail route in a very difficult terrain. And the capital of Manipur is Imphal, and they're connecting to another city which is just 111 kilometers away, but it passes through a very difficult terrain, and the rail route is now being built in order to improve connectivity in the city, in the state, for benefit of people, so that they can travel across the state itself. And in order to connect these two locations, the Indian Railways is now building a bridge, because the terrain is so difficult. It has a lot of mudslides and all that, and the stability of the ground is in question. So when you are actually building a permanent structure like a railway system, railway track, stations, etc., you will be amazed to know that this 111 kilometers stretch of railway track will be passing through almost 61% inside the tunnels, and whatever is remainder of the journey will be covered by a huge viaduct. And while constructing one of the big viaduct, the Indian Railways has now built the largest pier in the world. This is soaring high as 141 meters, and this is now the world largest pier. It's setting up a new world record. And this is situated in the track area called Jirabam, Imphal, which is Imphal is the capital of the state, in the state of Manipur. And this is going to be a wonderful thing. It will be ready by 2023. And friends, actually, this is a very remarkable feat by Indian Railways, because this is something not being done for last 70 years, especially after getting independence, because the terrain itself was so tough and remote, and the construction work is also hampered by huge deluge of rains and also multiple landslides. So I think this is a remarkable feat by Indian Railways, and it's a proud moment for all of us. Please join me in celebrating this proud moment. And if you have any other information about this, other than being the world largest pier viaduct of a railway bridge, do let me know and give your comments. And if you feel proud, you can actually send those messages also, and I will read it out in the next session of Akulmach Live. And for today, I'll say goodbye, only to catch you in the next one. Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live. My name is Chandrakant, and today I want to discuss something about rain harvesting, and it is a hot topic nowadays, especially when the drinking water has become so scarce, and people want to basically plan or install the rainwater harvesting system in their homes. The biggest confusion is, first of all, we need to know exactly what is the capacity of the water tanks or water storage we need, how much rain we can harvest, and what is our daily utilization. So I think these are certain questions which are very basic in nature. But before we start planning a rain harvesting system, we need to also plan that entire capacity, and also how we can actually recycle the water in order to maximize its usage. So this is exactly what we discussed today. Before we start our discussion, a word on our giveaway. We have some unique Akulmach memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments, or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmach gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmach and smash that like button. Now let's get back to our discussion. Friends, today I will be sharing the mathematical formula of making your own rainwater harvesting system. Before you even embark on a project of building one for your home or for your outhouse or your farmhouse, you need to know these basic things, and I will draw your attention to these basic calculations, which are very simple in nature. First of all, we need to understand the area of our roof, which will be used for collecting the rainwater. And it's a simple calculation. The area of the roof which will be used for collecting rainwater can be determined by just multiplying length and the width of the roof. However, in order to calculate the water, we need additional parameter, and those additional parameter would be like the how much water we can get out of this roof. So for a simplified equation, I have given the height of 100 centimeters. Now, what is this 100 centimeters? 100 centimeters is the amount of rain that happens in your region annually. Now, this information you can get it if you go to the Met department in your area. This type of information is readily published, and you can pick that up. So you have to know how much rain occurs on annual basis and how much water you can collect using the size of the roof that you have. So in this example, I am showing you the length of this particular house is in centimeters 2000, which is 20 meters, and 10 meters as a width of the roof. And in this area there is a 1 meter of rain that happens every year. So if we create a imaginary cuboid, that amount of water that will be stored after falling on the earth on the roof is the cuboid, which is in yellow line. And if we apply the simple mathematics, coming out with the volume of this yellow cuboid, it comes to about 200,000 liters. Why? Because I am also showing that 1 liter is 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter. That is a measure of 1 liter. So in this cuboid, at the rate of 1 meter of rain annually, this roof can collect 200,000 liter of water for you. Now, we don't have to build a facility for storing 200,000 liter of water, because we have to go for one more calculation, which is based on the peak rain in your region. That information also you can get it from the Met department office. And let's say if the peak rain in any season, any year, is 30 centimeter, that means one rain which is like very, very heavy, very torrential in nature. So that information is also published. And let's say, for simplicity, for our example, the peak rain, one rain which lasts for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, will give a yield of 30 centimeters of rain. So if we calculate that, then it comes to about 60,000 liters. So now it is determined that annually your roof, which is of this size, can give you 200,000 liters of water annually, considering all types of rains throughout the year. And on a particular day when there is a very heavy torrential rain, the peak is 60,000 liters of water you can capture. So this information will guide you to prepare your next steps, which is making sure that you have the storage tank, the right storage tank. And this gives rise to the amount of water you will get on annual basis. So if you apply using this example, you're getting something like 550 liters per day. So if you have a storage tank of 60,000 liters, that means you can store one particular rain which is very heavy, and you will not allow even a single drop from your roof to go waste. You store the entire amount, but you don't have to basically store capacity of 200,000 liters, simply because you will be using this water also. You will not only be storing it. So although you have the peak capacity of 60,000 liters, but since you will be using this water also, then this tank will get empty and then get refilled by future rains. So this is why this calculation is very, very important. Everyone who's thinking of installing a rainwater harvesting system must do this basic math, so that they know exactly what is the type of tank, how many tanks they want to put, what should be the capacity of the storage tank, and how many people live in that house. So I will come to that. Roughly about if there is 4 people in the house, roughly one person on an average takes about 100 liters. Certain countries data shows that they take more water, and there are certain countries who take less water, but I have taken the average of 100 liters per day. Roughly about 8 to 15 liters is basically consumed as fresh water or cooking, etc. Rest of the water is consumed in the form of washing clothes or your sanitary requirements, your toiletry requirements, etc. So on an average, 100 liter per day is a consumption of a normal human being. you need 100 liters of water, whatever the case may be, on an average. So if there is a family of 4 living in this example, the house that we have taken, so you are consuming 400 liters of water every day. And if we apply that into annual, if we convert that into annual figure, you can straight away see that in our area where the rain is about a meter every year, we are actually consuming less water than we are getting from the rain. So this shows that there is so much water coming in the rain. We don't have to depend or take any water from the municipal water supply. We can straight away survive on simply on rainwater if we have done adequate planning to store it and to use it. Now I think one of the key factor here is to optimize this water also. We can further recycle the kitchen waste and the bathroom waste in the form of grey water. Now, what is the grey water? Grey water is basically used once, but it is not, it can be further used in things like your toilets. And if you use proper soap, biodegradable soap, you can use that water to water your plants also. Or if you have an open area, you can use it for washing outside area and things like that. Instead of using the fresh water to do all these activities, you can start using grey water, and therefore you can recycle this water into and save that. So roughly if you save 50% of the water in the form of grey water, you need to basically store that water into a grey water tank. So this is how your planning looks like now. If you have a roof of 10 by 20 meters and your rainfall of 1 meter annually, then you need a tank of 60,000 liters to store the rainwater throughout the year. Whatever the case may be, you can use up to 400 liters of water, and up to 200 liters of water daily you can recycle as grey water. And this way you can further optimize your water. And now you can see straight away that the rain is giving so much water to you, more than what you can consume. And there is no need for the water to be taken from the municipal corporation water supply. You can probably start giving them back, and this will be a great benefit to you, because you can save a lot of cost. You don't have to pay for water. You can get the water for free from the atmosphere in the form of rain. You can collect it, you can purify it, you can drink it, you can cook it, you can bathe in it, you can wash your clothes. You can also recycle it in the form of grey water. You can water your plants by changing your habits, not using usual soap, but if you use biodegradable soaps and washing powders, you can water that simply without any harm to nature, and you can water your plants. You can probably do one more cleaning process, and you can probably use it for washing your car also. So this way you can 100% survive on the rainwater by doing this calculation. Friends, I thought I will bring this simple math to you to give you idea, to give you inspiration, uh, to start thinking of installing a rainwater system in your homes, because as we proceed towards the future, the rainwater, the water itself will be more and more scarce. So we need to get the rainwater system installed in our house. I trust you will find this information useful. If you do find it useful, or if not, in either case, do write to me, do engage with me. Based on your comment, I will actually include you live in my next show. I like to say goodbye until then.
Hello friends, this This is Chandra from Akulmach Technologies, and in today's video we will talk about one of the strongest feature of TopBrass platform, which allows our members to publish on social media. So basically, with single click you can update your branding material and marketing material on TopBrass, and with single click you can publish it across the entire global social media which are following you or following the TopBrass. So in order to showcase that strong feature, I would like to log in, show you how to log in first. And once you log in, it will open up your dashboard, which will give you the feature of connecting your social media pages with TopBrass platform. So once you log in, you go to your dashboard, and then when you click on dashboard feature, you will be shown this additional tab on your screen which talks about blog to social. And here the first thing, that's a one-time activity where you connect your social media pages to your TopBrass, to your area of TopBrass. So click on network, and the screen will change, and it will show you all the popular all the popular social media platforms which are listed here. So one by one, connect using your profile IDs and your passwords, and once it is connected, that's it. It is set up for the lifetime till the time you're member of TopBrass. Now, in addition to these profile pages which belongs to you, TopBrass has 1 million followers in their own in its own social media pages. So those are also added to your content and your digital strategy. Once you've done that, you start building your branding material and uploading them in TopBrass. And with single click, you can publish the entire content into wherever you want to publish, whichever social media platform you want to publish. And this way it will help you also create a very controlled strategy around your branding. In addition to this strong feature, we also have a calendar feature which will help you save your time. You can upload all your content for a month or so and run a campaign, and then schedule reposting of your content using this sort of a calendar, which will give you date wise and week wise and month wise areas where you can put and schedule your branding messages to go out into social media. So I like to also mention this point is that once you connect your social media, you have say 100,000 followers on your side. We bring another 1 million to your content, which makes it very easy for you to increase the reach to a wider audience globally, and then you can do branding of your company, of your product in a much better way. In addition to this, you also get a lot of peace of mind, because TopBrass will do the work of 2 to 3 marketing specialists without deploying these resources. You can do it and schedule it once in a month and forget about it. So these are very, very strong features of TopBrass, which I feel is good for the marketing heads or marketing CMOs to use and save their time and save their revenue. So with this, I would like to end this video. If you have any questions, do write to us, and we would definitely get back to you. And we would like to make sure that you join TopBrass today and leverage this platform to the fullest. Thank you. Bye-bye. This video is sponsored by Performance Works International from UK, and more about them in a bit.
However, if you want to go to know the details of Performance Works International, you can use the link in the description below. Have you ever wondered that why nowadays we don't get charger in our new mobile phones whenever we buy a new mobile phones? This is what we will discuss in our program today. My name is Chandrakant and you are at Akulmach Live channel. So charger is such a basic thing that we expect after spending so much money to buy the best mobile phone in the market. We expect a charger to be available and also the headphone for music and for making calls, etc., to be part of the standard accessory of our new mobile phone. And especially the upmarket mobile manufacturers have decided that they will not be supplying their mobile phones with any standard chargers. The reason they have given is that it is because to reduce the carbon footprint of their organization, which is valid. I think if I have to analyze this in totality, it appears to be a good move for the organization because they can reduce the amount of packaging required to ship out expensive mobile phones. But as a consumer, you expect that when you order a new mobile phone, you don't want to wait for the charger to come, because if the charger is not available immediately with your mobile phone, what is that you're going to do without a charger? You need to charge your mobile phone anyway, and you've already spent so much money buying this mobile phone. So I think the expectation of consumer is to get all the standard accessories along with your new mobile phone. And this is exactly what they have gone against. And I think it's a good move because from the organization perspective, they can actually give freedom to the consumer to buy that type of charger based on his or her need. They can actually go out and they are free to buy the type of charger they want to buy for their own requirement. But at the same time, when they actually buy their charger, and we want to evaluate this decision of these companies, I think as an organization, they may be able to reduce their carbon footprint, but overall, actually, it is increasing more burden on the mother nature. I'll exactly tell you why. When you get a new mobile phone, you expect that it comes with a charger, but now it is not coming with a charger. Especially the top 3 mobile brands, they have decided that they will not be shipping any charger along with their mobile devices. So when you want to order, obviously you will like to order along with a charger. And when you actually order a charger, it will come with its own packaging and own shipment. And as you know that if you get the Amazon type of delivery mechanism, they will further repack the whole thing in a pillow pack, then put it in a cardboard and then give it out to you. So this small pack will look like now this big. So because of this, now you, instead of ordering one pack, and this charger would have neatly fitted inside the mobile box itself. For all these years, it is happening. For last 25 years, we have been getting these mobile devices along with our chargers. But now suddenly last year, they decided that they will not be shipping the charger. So now, because the charger is not there, the overall experience of consumer is much bigger, and overall experience or the threat on the mother nature is much bigger now. At the same time, if you look at the type of charger people use, it's basically dependent predominantly on the basis of the kind of devices they have. The other problem with this is that there is no standardization of the charge points, the chargers which are required for charging your mobile devices. And it is only few days back in month of September that the EU decided to standardize on USB charger across the EU. So there is no standardization. So if you buy multiple devices from multiple manufacturers, you actually end up buying different chargers or having different chargers today for all of these devices. So there is no device, no charger standard for all of them. So you end up buying a charger with multiple cables so that you can charge your multiple devices. So that is again a big problem. So by having, I mean, as an organization, when you're trying to save the carbon footprint of your organization, you have to look at what is technically more viable, what is the overall impact. So in my opinion, the overall impact is can be reduced by adapting more standardized practices. That means standardizing your charge points so that any cable can be used to charge your iPhone, but iPhone has been having lightning port and all that, which is quite good quality, but it is not standard. So if you have Samsung device or some other device, first of all, you need to have different chargers for these devices. So I think in order to save really the carbon footprint of their technology, they should actually standardize on the USB port, so that when they are not shipping chargers, they are saying that, hey, charge our devices using any charger of this rating or etc., whatever that is, 12 volts or whatever. So if you have a Samsung charger, you should be able to charge your iPhone device. So I think that is required. The other thing is that most of the people are going to go for wireless chargers. And when you actually go for wireless chargers, the device has to be kept on the pad of the wireless charging device, like this one, as you can see behind me. This is a charger which is charging wirelessly. There is no cable required. So some of the consumers will have freedom to buy a wireless charger of their choice. However, I have to point out that the wireless chargers are not really the most efficient charging mechanisms, because it's based on induction. That means the electric current has to induce induce the current using electromagnetism into your mobile devices, which will be then converted into electricity, which will charge the battery which is on board on the mobile. So when you're doing all this conversion and all that, there is a little wastage of electricity, and as a result, this wastage will result into heat. And as an estimate, about 30% of electricity is wasted in the wireless chargers. So now what is happening is you're not giving charger, which is much more efficient, the usual cable charger. And then people are buying wireless chargers because it's much more convenient. But then it is actually increasing the amount of electricity required to charge the device. So it's not really helping. So yeah, I think overall you will be able to reduce your box size, and as an organization you will be able to reduce the amount of carbon footprint for your organization. But overall it does not have any impact. In fact, by taking this decision, you're increasing the overall carbon footprint of people buying multiple devices. There is one more reason for doing this. The reason is that there is 30% more mobile devices the organizations can pack in one particular stack. So if one stack contains 100 mobile devices, now with reduced box size, because there is no charger now and there are no accessories, they can pack 30% more mobile devices. So they are actually doing a lot of cost saving, these small incremental cost savings, and thus they are saying that as an organization we are reducing our carbon footprint. So I think this is the logic behind not giving charger, especially in the upper market segment where the consumer is actually paying more to buy these good quality devices. There are no charger available. So I think this is something which I thought I will bring it to you. And before I go, I like to say big thanks to Performance Works International for sponsoring this video. Now I will end by giving a word from them.
This video is sponsored by Performance Works International.
Are you ready for the challenges facing the modern workplace? Recent events have taught us the importance of transformation. Businesses now face a perfect storm of challenges. No business is too big to fail, and many are too slow to succeed. our workforce is changing fast. We're entering a new age of empowerment, and everyone can contribute. The Inner CEO reveals how we can all play a part in making leading at all levels a reality. Written by Jeremy Blaine, an expert on business transformation and growth, it provides a roadmap to help everyone unleash their inner CEO and contribute beyond their job role, whatever their level. Traditionally, strategy has been owned by the few. Now it's time for the many to contribute. Leadership must come from a broader base. Everyone has the potential to step up and make things happen. It's a new model of collective and collaborative leadership which unleashes the power of people, enabled by appropriate technology and a supportive management structure. The book provides a roadmap for a bold new age of empowerment. Supported by a range of resources, the book provides a toolkit to help anyone unleash their inner CEO. Organisation health, development and growth is owned at all levels. Are you ready to unleash the inner CEO?
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from Akulmach Technologies and you are welcome to our series, The Great Kings of India. Now today we will be discussing about Harshvardhan. In the last series we have done an overview of Harshvardhan, who is a great king of India. Now Harshvardhan got the administrative style from Guptas, but then he has touched a personal note in the administration by touring the kingdom, finding out what is going wrong, what is doing right. And to discuss more about his administration, I have a privilege to call upon Professor Binda Paranjpe, who is a professor of ancient India in Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. So without wasting any time, I would like to invite Binda Paranjpe. Madam, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling great and excited once again that I'll be with you today. And it's a wonderful opportunity that we are talking about a king who lived 1300 years ago, and still he inspires us and makes us feel proud of being Indian.
Yes,
What would you like to know from me today?
Yeah, actually, I have been fascinating by many kings. India has too many. We have that that kind of knowledge, and we have that kind of impression of the great kings of India upon us. We are a new generation, but there are many young people may not be knowing about Harshvardhan. And as we have discussed about overview, what kind of king he was. Today, I would like to know the administration, how he handled his administration of his kingdom, and what is the impact of that particular era of administration in today's era, today's scene.
Okay, that's wonderful. To begin with, let's try to understand that India under Harshavardhan was a vast territory, right from the northwest frontier reaching up to the borders of Assam, and from the Nepal Tarai region to Saurashtra to banks of Narmada. So almost the entire of North India was under one political leadership. Now that is not very common in ancient times. So Harshavardhana's kingdom was a vast kingdom, a vast territory, and that needs to be really administered very efficiently, because the regional aspirations will always be there. So why all those kings who were under the umbrella of Harshavardhan will remain with him, remain faithful to him, unless he was a very benevolent king, because otherwise they would have revolted against him. and no king, no emperor ever has kept many rulers under his control by brute force. It is not possible. It is only possible when the king extends very cordial, very friendly relations with the neighboring states, with the states which have come under his umbrella. And even in case of Harshavardhan, we have seen that it was not only Saurashtra, that is Vallabhi, that time that kingdom was called. On the western side, Nepal, on the eastern side, he also had very friendly relations with Assam. The ancient name of Assam during the time of Harshavardhan was Kamaru. And also he had very good relation with rulers of Kashmir. The only fight that we can see during his time was with a southern king, the Chalukya king Pulakeshin II. But otherwise, we see that most of this territory was under his command, and the bordering states were in friendly relation. Now, that is one of the strengths of Harshavardhana's administration.
So, what is the impact of Council of Minister in his administration? Because what I know is that administration as a set of rule is being given, transferred to him from already existing system by Guptas. So what new change he has done, and what is the impact of Council of Minister into his administration?
Absolutely relevant question. If we try to see it from the tradition of ancient Indian polity or the political structure, Harshavardhana did not introduce something absolutely new to his administration. But the implementation part, that I think is very important. And that we come to know from many comments that UN Sangh has made over and again. One interesting thing that I will tell you, as you are asking about the ministers and the officials, that UN Sangh says that since all of them, they are so duty bound, they are so non-corrupt, absolutely genuine person, and because of that, the administration of justice also becomes very easy because there are less number of crimes. Why people will become criminals if whatever they need and that has been provided for. In fact, the highest principle that Harshavardhan is supposed to have followed is the welfare of the people. And that welfare of the people is ensured by a lot of welfare activities which were undertaken with the help of all these ministers and his officials. And that has been recorded very well. How did he do it? Construction of roads. Now, today in India, we know that many of our segments are lamenting because they do not have good communication by road. And way back 1300 years ago, there was a ruler who was so much concerned about the construction and maintenance of the roads. And then imagine a period when people were not traveling by the automized or fuel-driven vehicles. They were going in bullock carts or sometimes on the backs of the animals, sometimes walking along with the animals in the caravans. So they needed resting places, the places where they can get some shade, they can get water, they can get some shelter. And Harshavardhan is supposed to have created such rest houses on the roads. So it is not just the construction of the roads, but it is also caring for the people who are traveling on that road. Now, this is something which is absolutely essential for a king who understands the needs of the people. So I think many other welfare activities we can see by way of giving donations, by way of constructing temples and monasteries. By and by, we'll talk more about it.
Yes, so actually I read somewhere that he's a very duty-bound king, and he used to forget even sleeping and taking food when he's conducting his duties. And apart of this, I was so amused to read somewhere that whenever he used to visit any place, there used to be very pump and show, drums were always ahead of his arrival, so that people should know that Harshvardhan is coming to meet them, and then people have the liberty to meet their king, which is, I think, is very democratic, isn't it?
More than democratic, because that was the times when people had not thought of something like a democracy, but certainly it is the one-to-one connection with the king, and that was very important. And once again, I'll highlight that point, that in ancient times communication network was not as fast as it is today. So for somebody to reach up to the capital city of Kannauj and then go and meet his king or her king may not be so easy. But if the king comes to their region, they get a first-hand look of the king. They get a chance to talk to him person to person, tell him about their problems, maybe if they are there, or even whatever satisfaction that they feel with his rule, they can communicate it. And in return, then they will feel nice about it. That here is a king. I cannot go to the king, but the king has come to me to meet me. Now,
Yes,
that kind of very personal touch
yes.
towards his subjects is something absolutely unique and very important.
Yes, I think, and that gives a lot of trust. That creates a lot of trust among the subject. The king is so humble and he's ready to help them out. Apart of this, I think he has also maintained an efficient bureaucracy, and where the bureaucracy has to get direct orders from the king. So that is, I think, it's one of the plus point in his administration. So,
Yeah, and this we know more because of the distribution of the state's expenditure items. If we see what are the items or heads under which the state was spending, and it is said that mainly it was spending under 4 heads, and one of the heads was for the payments of all these officials. So if the officers and the people who serve the king, if they are paid on time and sufficient amount, they will have no reason to be corrupt. I think this is something which is very novel. This is something which is very ideal, because if the king is spending 1/4 of his treasury for giving the remuneration to the people who work for the state, that is something which the uh, king is showing his responsibility towards administration. And I think that is wonderful.
yeah, so when we talk about administration, I think we should also talk about the revenue system. And I have read somewhere that Harshvardhan was charging very light revenue from the subject, rather, and making everything happy, every person in this kingdom happy. So people were generally happy, and there was a proper taxation, but it is very less compared to other empires which we have studied. What do you say about this?
Yeah, generally in ancient times, 1/6 of the produce, and the mainstay of the economy was obviously agriculture. So the state's income was also coming mainly from agriculture, and 1/6 of the produce. And we don't have any recorded evidence to say that Harshvardhana ever increased taxation. So he must be collecting 1/6 of the produce, which was normal, which was continuously recommended by the texts on ancient Indian polity, and that was the revenue that he was collecting. In addition to that, I also would like to mention here that there are some religious institutions where the taxes were exempted. Now that is very important, because those institutions then can sustain and they can be free from that burden of giving even 1/6 of the tax to the state. So this is very important. Secondly, we do not have much evidence to say that there was any crime of not paying the taxes, and then the such criminals were treated harshly. We don't have any such evidence. And one more thing I would like to add here, which is very unique, that any crime of supposedly any act of a person going against the state, not being faithful to the state, was not punished corporally. The person was not punished by cutting off his limbs or hanging till death, nothing of that kind. It was only the imprisonment. Now, that kind of a confidence the king, if he has in his subjects, then only he can make such provisions. And then, as I said, that we don't have any evidence of saying that people were not paying taxes, so they were treated as criminals. We just don't see that. So, unless the taxation was comfortable for the people to bear, such crimes were not there. So, that is an indirect evidence for that.
So as you discussed that there was not a severe punishment, but there was a penal code, there was a code of conduct when it comes to practicing and serving the king. So let me listen about what kind of code of conduct was there prevalent during the Harshvardhan time.
Mainly, as I said, that we get less references about what kind of crimes were there, but we also, but we do get references about the criminal system or the judiciary system. There were light punishments, very less corporal punishments, imprisonment was there, and on occasions the prisoners were also released as an act of benevolence on the part of the king. Secondly, there is some gray area about which the historians are also not very clear, that there are certain divine interventions sought in the justice administration. Say, for example, if a person, judge is unable to decide whether the person is guilty or not, then the person will be tied to a rock or a stone boulder and thrown into the water. If the person still floats, then the person is considered to be non-guilty. Or many such practices were there, and we do get reference to it. But exactly how it was administered, in which cases, how many times such divine intervention was invoked, those details we do not get. But the courts were there, the judges were there, the system of justice administration was in its place, the crimes have been described, and the punishments have been very well defined. So I'm sure that the justice administration must have been quite prompt.
I think I would like to conclude that Harshvardhan was a beautiful.
Just one more thing I wanted to add.
Yes, please.
Can I?
Yes.
This is regarding the interstate relations. I think in today's times, when we can see that our neighbors are and India is having some kind of a little tension with our neighbors, like may it be on the side of Pakistan, may it be on the side of Nepal, may it be on the side of China. But if we see that what Harshvardhan was doing, that all the contemporary rulers, he maintained a very friendly relation. So, for example, sometimes he used the traditional way of establishing friendly relation by having a marital alliance. So, he gave his daughter in marriage to the king of Vallabhi. And Vallabhi being a western side, today's Gujarat side, how it is very important for the state, because the important trade that was going on from the western sea. So, having a very strong ally, a friendly ruler there is very good for Harshvardhan, obviously, because that will give a good, smooth push to the trade, overseas trade, or from the Nepal side. Or as I yesterday have also explained, and today I am saying it, from the Chinese side. So this is something which is very interesting to note, that how he maintained very good relations. But at the same time, this is not the kind of friendship extended by a weaker king towards the other kings who might cause some harm. No, Harshvardhan's friendship and benevolence was strongly backed by a very huge army, like 6 lakhs soldiers he had. And he had elephants, he had cavalry. We don't get much reference to chariots in his army. And secondly, he had a lot of feudatories also to fill in his army as and when summoned. So it was not that he was keeping friendly relations with his neighbors because he was not in a position to fight with them. He was very much in a position to have wars, but he did not. And it was only once that we can see he takes a very strong position against the king of Assam. And that too, it's a very interesting episode that Yuan's son was with Bhaskar Varman, who was the king of Assam, that time Kamaru. And Harshavardhan was inviting Yuan Singh to his kingdom. And Bhaskar Varman was saying, no, 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 I'll not send him. I want him to be in my kingdom for a longer time. And that is the time when Harshavardhan kind of threatened him that better you send him, otherwise you will face the consequences. But other than that, and after that also he's having friendly relations with Assam. So I think this is something which, as you initially said, that what is there from ancient times that we can learn today, we can take as a message from the past. And I think this is a strong message that we can take from Harshvardhan, that be strong, be powerful, but that power and strength is not for scaring others, it is for having a very healthy interstate relations. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think what I can summarize is that he is an efficient ruler with direct supervision and a dutiful emperor. So it was so wonderful to talk to you, Binda Paranjpe, today and really learn few things like you discussed about the Assam incident. It was so good. So in next episode, we'll be discussing the whole army, what under Harshvardhan in next episode. So till then,
maybe
it is so wonderful to talk to you. Till then, bye bye. Take care.
Yeah.
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and today in the tip section I would like to cover about something which happens with everybody. And as you know that we are passing through a lockdown where all of us are using different PCs and different machines and bandwidth at home, and as a result, in some cases, some of the cases, we may need extra PCs for everyone in the family to log on. And usually it happens that when you buy a laptop, you always buy top of the line laptop. For example, today if you end up buying any laptop, it would be having at least 8 GB of memory. But after a couple of years, this will become obsolete. So when you buy your laptop, you always tend to buy the top of the line laptop with the best processor, best memory, and best hard disk. But after a few years, these hardware become obsolete and hence not usable, and then you are forced to buy a new laptop after 3 to 5 years. Now, all of these laptops, you don't discard them. They keep lying in your in your real estate and keep occupying simply because you have a lot of data on those laptops. So I came across a situation where I had many laptops lying for past 10 to 15 years with different configuration, and I wanted to use them. I needed it for giving it to my kids and the family and so on, and they should not feel left out because of this digital onslaught. So I called the technician. That guy came and said, let me show you the type of laptop that I figured out. It's basically top of the line a Dell laptop. As you can see here, I'm trying to show you. This is a very good laptop, very lightweight, red in color, very jazzy, but it has only 30 GB of hard disk and 1 GB of memory. Now the technician, when he came home, he said, look, we can't do anything with this because he can't even load Windows 10 on it. And the memory cannot be upgraded beyond 2 GB. because it does not have the extra slots, and the upgrade cost will be as much as the cost of this buying a new laptop. So then I felt that this technician is not helping me, and I have to do something, and I don't want to throw this laptop. It's a very beautiful, bright laptop, as you can see, and it's from a brand called Dell. It's a very good quality laptop. I don't want to discard it. So I did my research and I found a solution. The solution is you can actually get rid of Windows completely and use this Intel hardware with 30 GB of hard disk, and download a free operating system which is very user friendly, and it takes hardly half an hour to prepare your laptop without any external help. So I just want to talk about that and probably give you a live demo what you can do and how you can do without knowing anything technical. It's not a technical job. All you need to do is you need to follow the steps that I'm telling you. But before you start, you have to ensure that you bring a device like this. This is a pen drive, a flash drive, at least 4 GB. It must be lying somewhere in your house. You can get that. Make sure that you back up your flash drive, whatever pictures, data you have. Make sure that you you don't because this will be overwritten, this will be formatted, and but make sure that this drive is there for this purpose. And what we are going to do is with this drive basically is make this drive a bootable drive. That means I want to boot this red color laptop using this drive, not its hard disk. So and it can be done very easily. It's not a very difficult thing to do, but make sure that it is empty. You have taken the backup of this drive, and it has at least 4 GB of space. So the drive that I'm using today for this experiment is actually 30 GB, 32 GB. But nevertheless, if you have an old 4 GB flash drive lying around somewhere in your home, you can use it simply. Now, the whole point of making or using this drive is this will become a bootable drive. And when I say bootable drive, once this drive has the operating system and entire bootable aspect of the operating system, then you can convert any number of hardware into this operating system using just this drive. So first of all, you have to make this as a bootable drive, and for that you need to do two things. And today in our experiment we are going to download the Linux version. Linux, it takes lesser memory than Windows, because Windows 10 takes about 30 GB, and the older versions of Windows are no longer supported. So you have to move out of Windows if you want to use the old hardware. And Linux takes about 4 to 8 GB depending on what systems you are going to load on it. And I'll tell you exactly how you can do it and how user friendly this is going to be for your kids and for even your parents who want to use the internet, browse, do simple things like writing document, browsing, watching a YouTube video, even 4K videos, how you can use it. So first thing is you need to prepare this 4 GB, at least 4 GB flash drive. You must have it, keep it ready before you start this activity. And then go to this Ubuntu website. We are going to use Ubuntu version of Linux. There are many. You can choose any. Actually, you can use Mint, you can use Kali Linux, you can use Ubuntu. I'm going to use Ubuntu. It is just my comfort, but if you're comfortable with any other thing, just do it. All of them have pros and cons. You can go through the internet and read about it. But I feel Ubuntu is very user friendly. However, if you want to create your Linux very close to look like Windows, then you can also use Mint Linux, because Mint Linux menu looks very similar to Windows. But nevertheless, none of these versions are Windows, they are Linux. And so if you use Ubuntu, many of these things are pre-built in it, like Word and all that. We will see all that as we go along. So what you have to do is go to Ubuntu website, and it's absolutely free. It, as you know, it's all freeware. It is there are no charges for downloading Ubuntu. So you go to Ubuntu and click on download. On the download page, you get these different versions. You get different types of I mean, the Ubuntu can be downloaded even for IoT devices, but you know, in today's experiment we are going to download only for desktop, because our purpose is to prepare our old laptop which has become obsolete to become ready today, and again make it usable. And now here in the download section you see two button. One is green and which says 20.04 LTS, and other is 20.10. Now the difference between these two is that the LTS is the stable version of Ubuntu, and that is how the Linux gives their versions. I mean, the LTS upgrade will happen once in 18 months, once in 2 years, and this is stable, and there will be no upgrade. So you will not be, unlike Windows, which which gives upgrade or update or some patch every 3 to 4 months. If you choose LTS version, there will be no update for next 18 months to 2 years. Or you can use the ongoing version, which is having all the latest features. So 20.0 LTS version basically will be the most stable version, but will not have the latest feature. But if you want to go with the latest feature which are getting added as you're downloading it, then go for 20 and this version, and which is good enough. I've experimented with both are equally good. For our activity today, you can choose whichever you want, whichever you feel comfortable with. So for today we will click on this one, which is the latest version 20.1, and it start downloading, and it'll just say that thank you and etc., and straight away without any permission it downloads it. Depending on the speed of your network, like for example, if I have a 256 Mbps line right now, it'll take hardly 2 minutes to download. And but nevertheless, it should not take more than 10 minutes to download. It is just 2 GB file which you can download. After it is downloaded, you will see in your download section it is already downloaded here, and it is just 2 GB. The entire operating system is 2 GB, and now it is there with you as an executable file. And one thing you have to make sure that it should be an ISO file. It should not be an exe file or any other file. It should be an ISO file, because ISO file is the operating system files. Now, in order to make this into a bootable drive like this one, we need a tool called Power ISO. So again, it's a simple utility. You can go to poweriso.com. Again, this is all free. Just click on download, and it will download. It will take you to the next page, where you can choose what version you want to download. So typically, if your systems are 32-bit, your laptop which you want to migrate is 32-bit, migrate the ISO, take this software for 32-bit. If your operating system is chip is 64-bit, take this version. So make sure that you choose the right versions of Ubuntu as well as Power ISO. Download all of these guys. Once you click on download, it will download very quickly, and as you can see, it is already here. It's downloaded. It's a very small application. It's hardly 4 MB application. It downloads within few seconds. Once it is downloaded, you kickstart the Power ISO, and it has many things, so we don't want to confuse with what other features it has. But click on the tools. What we are looking for is the tools section. Click on this option, and you will start seeing a drop down menu. And what we want to do is basically make a bootable USB drive. This is the option that we want to use. Basically, what will happen is once you click on this, it will ask you to provide the ISO file of Ubuntu. And it's a very simple process. Just download the ISO software, start it, choose, click on tools, go to this option called create bootable USB drive, and then supply the Ubuntu, the version here. And then at this point in time, you have to insert, before you go ahead, insert the drive into the USB port, and the system will recognize and then copy everything into this drive. Now this drive will become a Ubuntu bootable drive. Now this is ready. Once this is ready, it will take hardly 5 minutes to create the entire system. The Power ISO software will make sure that the Ubuntu is copied properly and it is also bootable. What you need to do now is take the new laptop like this one here that I have, and insert the USB drive into this laptop like this. And once this is done, you start the laptop. When you start the laptop, just before it start booting from the hard disk, you press F12 depending on your make. In my case, it's a Dell PC, so I have to press F12 many times. I have to continue pressing after, every 1 second, keep pressing F12 as soon as the PC starts. So that will actually bring the BIOS of the operating system of the laptop. And once you see that BIOS, all you have to do is basically you have to tell the BIOS of the laptop to boot from a USB, because right now it is set booting from the hard disk. This is the address of the hard disk. So you have to tell the BIOS to boot from the USB. So it is as simple as selecting this option, save and restart. So when you restart, your laptop already has the bootable Ubuntu flash drive in it, and this time BIOS will recognize USB as a bootable drive, and it will boot from the flash drive. Once that happens, immediately after a few seconds, you will be given this option. And here, depending on which country, what language you want to install Ubuntu, obviously for me it's English, but whichever country you are in, you can choose whatever language you want, and you have to choose install Ubuntu. That's it. So you just install it, click on install, and this guy will install Ubuntu on your PC. And now, once you remove the flash drive, you don't have to do anything. Your PC is ready and it has everything. It looks like Windows, as you can see, is exactly like Windows. It's not Windows, but it looks like Windows, and it has built-in utilities like instead of Word, it has the writer document, it has presentation, it has a lot of games, it has a browser and things like that. So it has already everything in it as part of the OS, and you can use it just like Windows without any complexities, and all of this will come in about 4 to 8 GB depending on what softwares you choose. And the best part is, since this is Linux, it is open source, you can make everything your own specification. So as you become more expert in using this, you can change all of this. Right now this is in this color, you can change it to maroon color, or you can change it to orange. You can change the picture. You can, suppose you don't like the file manager, you can get a new one, a freeware from Linux website. So there are so many variations you can do. So you can you can create your own version of Ubuntu the way you want it. And unlike Windows, which you are stuck with one particular software, here there are more flexibility. And the best part is, now I can use my 30 gig hardware which was lying without any use I can now again use it. I can watch my videos. I can start using it for my purpose, and also browse the net, and also do my office automation work, like creating Excels, writing Word documents, preparing presentation, joining if the kids are there, they can join the classroom using Chrome. You can download a Chrome on Ubuntu, and the look and feel will be different, but usability will be exactly the same, just like Windows. So my friends, this is a tip for making sure you're kickstarting use of your old hardware, which is not usable, just lying around. You don't know what to do with this. You don't want to throw it, because when you bought it, it was really the top of the line, and you spend a lot of money buying it, but it is not useful now. You can make it useful by following this process, and you don't have to be a technical person. You just follow the guidelines that I have given you. All you have to do, just to summarize my points, download ubuntu.iso file from ubuntu.com, or Linux, Mint Linux or Kali Linux, whichever you feel, any operating system, they are all the same. They're very user friendly. Download them in your hard disk, get a flash drive, at least 4 GB, make that as a bootable flash drive of your operating system of choice, like Ubuntu, Mint, or Kali Linux. Then you need to boot the laptop which you want to transform using this flash drive, and voila, you get your laptop working. Now in this laptop, it has only 30 GB. Now I have 8 GB of operating system and my data files, and I still have 20 GB spare to fill in more stuff in it. So this is now useful. I don't need to throw it. I can use it. I can give it to kids. I can give it to my parents, and they can use it. So this is a small tip for today, my friends. Do engage with me. Let me know if this tip was useful for you, or you have any other suggestion, and we can include your comments in the next video. Until then, I'd like to say goodbye.